Okay, awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming. I know some people are still outside eating lunch. It's going to be a very quick talk, and then hopefully we'll use time for Q&A at the end. For starters, thank you to the organizers in choosing a venue that's so nostalgic. If you guys were at ETH Denver, I think it was 3 years ago, you'll remember this event and also the chaos that was very much part of it then. I'm going to be talking about interoperable DAOs and some of the solutions that are being built for this right now. Also, to introduce myself, my name's Irene. I'm head of strategy at Layer Zero Labs. We're the creator company of Layer Zero, which is the leading omnichain interoperability protocol, and also Stargate Finance. So some of the problems that DAOs face, which I believe everyone here is familiar with, what you can see on the far right-hand side is a tweet from Rekt recently. Rekt is a publication that writes about exploits and drama and all kinds of like tension and sus behavior across our entire industry. Governance is a theater. That's what they write there. And some of the challenges is that you have members of DAOs that come in and out of the organization and are either more or less involved at given times. There are gas fees that you pay for voting on chain, and many DAOs are entirely on Ethereum. And so as your DAO grows to, say, 500,000 members, Stargate Finance's DAO, for example, is more than 500,000. It may become cost prohibitive to have voting be entirely on mainnet. And then you also see that there are always many, many different proposals. So the cadence of voting may be more than just a one-time vote to flip the fee switch. Right now, Uniswap has a really compelling proposal up, and it hopefully will have record turnout in terms of votership. So that's just a few of the many problems that DAOs face. We'll be focusing more on the technical and architectural challenges that DAOs face, but the social elements feed into these design issues. So DAOs grow and change as well, and I alluded to this. On the bottom left-hand side, you can see something I pulled from guild.xyz, which shows a few of the largest DAOs that exist. ZK Sync and Base have around 250,000 members. When they first launched, it was 20,000 or 50,000. And what serves a DAO that has 10,000 members who are all highly engaged DeFi power users is not the same as what you need for a DAO that has, let's say, like an 18-year-old from Ohio who's also involved and also wants to vote, but doesn't have $100,000 worth of ETH in their wallet. You also, as a protocol, start to govern and be responsible for more and more value. So when you first launched, maybe it was a protocol that was securing $1 million worth of value, but now you're securing $1 billion worth of value. The stakes are different. The security mechanisms should change. In addition to that, now we have DAOs that want to launch their own chain. Why? Well, maybe your protocol has contributed to an enormous amount of growth for, say, Arbitrum or Polygon, and you look at the value that your protocol has accrued for token holders, and it's not commensurate with what you've contributed. You may want to launch your own Orbit chain. And on the bottom right-hand side, what I'm showing is a screenshot of the outcome of the snapshot vote that ApeCoin's DAO did recently to vote on which stack they're going to build their chain. Horizon and Arbitrum actually ended up winning. It was very hotly contested with Polygon and Arbitrum. So ApeCoin is launching their own chain now, and their token, Ape, needs to somehow move there and be native. And they need to do this in the most seamless way possible. NFT power users are not the kinds of people who want to bridge and hope for the best that it gets to where you want it to be and pay in multiple gas tokens, nor do really any members or users of crypto. And then finally, what I'm showing here with the chart is the early days of Uniswap. The amount of ETH that was secured in the protocol grew dramatically. And this is from the earliest days. If I extended that chart, it would spike even further up. And so the stakes of governance have changed quite a bit. So what does cross-chain DAO governance look like right now? I have a few examples here, but it's worth remembering that, a year and a half ago, the question at a lot of conferences was, is the future of crypto multi-chain? It was still an open question. This year, all of the questions are, how do we adapt to a future of 1,000 multi-chain applications or many, many app chains, many roll-ups? It's very much the present, and DAOs have to catch up. Stargate was one of the very first protocols to have a native protocol token that is omni-chain. So on all of the chains that Stargate supports, their STG token is native and uses layer 0 at the contract level to mint and burn across chains. Angle is also a very forward-thinking protocol. If you guys are familiar with the team, they're a Parisian team. They created AGUR, which is now likely being renamed to Yura. And they integrated layer 0 at both the governance level and for the stablecoin. For governance, they created a custom voting module, which is meant to protect against vendor lock-in and uses Layer 0 to do a fully on-chain execution module for voting. That was in July 2023, so actually fairly avant-garde compared to all the discussions we're seeing now. Modularity first was their approach. And with Layer 0, rather than using it as a bridge per se, you can use it to enable the modularity of different verification methodologies. So let's say your DAO right now wants to use multiple bridges, 2 different bridges and a native bridge for moving your governance tokens between chains. You can select that without writing any new code within your configuration of Layer 0. And then let's say 2 years from now, we're using SigSync's SP1 tool to create your own ZK Lite clients. And you vote on-chain, proposal passes to add a ZK Lite client as part of verifying the passage of your governance tokens voting across chains. What that shows is that your DAO is maturing. 2 years ago, ZK technology wasn't mature enough, but now it's 2026 and it's the standard, and you guys are securing $1 billion worth of value. You can just push that and make the configuration without changing anything that could introduce a vulnerability to your cross-chain governance. And then finally, Aragon, which is a team many of you are familiar with, created this plugin and utilized Layer 0 and also first ZK Sync to make it easy for single chain tokens to now be able to move across different chains. My call to action is actually, these are really great primitives. These are early examples of how you can integrate general message passing to make cross-chain governance smoother, to make DAOs chain agnostic rather than a Polygon-based DAO or a Solana-based DAO. It's just an organization you're a part of. I was just having a conversation with Raf, the founder of Tally, the other day, and I was asking, what are the problems that still exist? And if you look at protocols like Uniswap, for example, they use different bridges for every single chain that they deploy their protocol to. It means that if they were to integrate new tools like Tally or others, Tally would have to do a custom integration for every single one of those bridges. That's increasing code exposure by like 12-fold or more. And that means the chances of there being a vulnerability is much higher. We want to create standards that have unified semantics. So if you have engineers in the audience here, that means the way you build for Avalanche should be the same way you build for ZK Sync or Scroll. It should be with similar, syntax should be with similar design patterns. I would love to see someone create that standard for how you bring a DAO across different chains. I also would love to see more DAOs launch thinking first, not of we're going to be tribalistic around this ecosystem, but build for something that an 18-year-old girl in Ohio could actually be a part of and would vote and participate in governance for. Voter turnout is still really low for a lot of the major protocols, and it mirrors the challenges that we see in traditional governance. And I'd love to see that change using interoperability protocols like Layer 0. So I'll stop there. I wanted to save time to hear from you all and gather some feedback around what challenges you're running into, and also if you have any questions about the examples I gave. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Irene. We do have time for a few questions. Thank you. Any questions? All right, so I do have a quick one, actually. So, coming from the DeFi space, we know about some of the difficulties of fragmenting liquidity for, trading pairs across different chains. And I'm sort of curious, is there any sort of implication for fragmenting governance tokens across different chain ecosystems?
That's an interesting question. For a lot of the DAOs I have worked with, latency and aggregation of votes in like a low latency environment matters a lot less. Oftentimes votes can settle over a period of 12 hours or 24 hours. So fragmentation of governance tokens, it can be solved for in a less complicated way. I think where we're seeing more challenges is teams want to expand their DAOs to L2s because it's a lot cheaper. And if you rely only on native bridges, you don't have horizontal composability, meaning if you wanted to take a token and move it from base to scroll, you would have to wait the 7-day bridgeback period and then go to scroll. So it's a point-to-point like this movement. Horizontal composability looks like transferring your token from base directly to scroll. And omni-chain standards like OFT or native asset bridges like Stargate can do this in one click with one gas token. So a design question I would have for the audience is how might we create systems which enable the most efficient pathway and lowest code exposure or slippage exposure for moving assets between chains in a world in which there are hundreds of L2s and people only have one gas token in their wallet.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Any other questions before we move on? All right. Thank you so much, Irene.
Thank you so much. Okay. Thanks, Big Butter. Appreciate it.